Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about driving examiners. Who are they? What do they do? And what do you need to do to not fail your driver's test? Stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about driving examiners, the people that will decide whether you pass your driver's test or not. And we're going to get you going here and show you what they need to be doing. If you're in the comments here, say hi. Just hang on, just bear with me one second. I'm just going to reset this because I'm not sure it's working. And we're back. There we go. Katie's here. Justin is here. I knew there was some people in the comments, but it wasn't showing up on my screen. So all good. Excellent. And the way that it works here is I go through the presentation and then I'll come back. I'll answer any questions you have about passing a driver's test, getting a CDL license, or starting your career as a truck or bus driver. So Margaret's here. Rahul is here. Hello. Alakheim. I had my test on Tuesday in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Excellent. Rocky's here. Good evening from Windsor. Excellent. And you, my friend, how are you? Blessing is here from Atlanta, Georgia. Excellent. Gunnar is here. So a few people here. If you, like I said, if you have any questions, Mahatma, good evening to you. I'm a big fan, and we're so glad that you're part of the Smart Driver community. That's awesome. And Bobby's here, and Bobby passed his road test recently. Goose is here as well. He's a driving instructor in Northern Ontario. And Bricks for Wheels, that's Corey. Corey is the moderator, keeps the bad people out, and does an excellent, excellent job of getting up the videos that I suggest that you have a look at for, further reference. More details is what I was trying to say. So awesome. Excellent. Matt is here. Roberto. And Justin and my friend Tim from Drive Smart BC. If you want to know anything about driving laws, legislation, and a forum for experts in the field of traffic safety, head over to Tim's website there. Drive Smart BC is an excellent website and an excellent resource for anybody in the province of British Columbia. So have a look at that as well. Excellent. Retha's here from California. And Satnam, you want to know how to calm your nerves. First of all, breathe, relax, and just, more practice in the vehicle. And Corey will put the video up for you on fear and anxiety, and that'll help you out with that aspect of your driving as well. And Rahul, I'm going to appear for your driving test on Tuesday. Yes, Gunnar says that breathing helps him work. Roberto, I need more explanation about the 45-degree angle to park your vehicle. Corey will put the blog post from the Smart Drive Test website up for you over there, and that will help you out because there's actually an image on the page that will help you out. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get through the slideshow presentation here. I'll do that, and then I'll come back and answer any questions that anybody has about passing a road test, calming their nerves, how to parallel park and find the 45-degree angle, and all of those types of things. So without further ado, here we go. Driving examiners, their job and your job. What are these? And this woman here does not look very happy. She does not look like she passed her driver's test. For those of you who might be new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver through the 1990s, became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. I earned a doctorate in legal history from the University of Melbourne in 2006. And while I was going to university and living in Australia, I also drove buses for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines there as well. So if you want to know more information about me and about Smart Drive Test, head over to the Smart Drive Test website and check out my autobiography. It's on the front page there. You can just scroll down about 2/3 of the way down and you'll find a link to that. So new video this week and something new that I'm trying. Gavin got a hold of me a couple weeks ago and said that he was unsuccessful on his first test. And I said to him, hey, you want to shoot some videos? And we shot some videos, and this is the first driving lesson. I've done some other driving lessons with him as well. They're all here, just waiting to be crunched, and I'll get those up for you as well. And Gavin is going to do really well. We went out this morning again, and Gavin is going to he's going to be successful in passing his driver's test on Tuesday. I have very little doubt. I mean, unless something dramatic goes wrong, Gavin's going to be, he's going to get his license on Tuesday. So that'll be very exciting. So driving examiners, what is their job? Their job is to assess your ability to have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. That means you obey all the road rules, maintain the posted speed limit, keep two hands on the steering wheel, demonstrate that you can do turns, lane changes, and do your slow speed maneuvers. So so this is what driving examiners are looking for in terms of what you need to do. And your job is to take away the driving examiner's right to fail you. Nothing more, nothing less. That's all you have to do. And for some of you, that can be a little bit tougher because unfortunately you didn't get enough practice. And I was talking to a driving instructor, a colleague of mine in Calgary, who I'm going to go and shoot some videos with because he has some hand control vehicles. And him and I were both sort of saying that, you know, unfortunately for a lot of students, even though they kind of feel cheated, the driving examiner is usually right in their assessment that the student just simply didn't get enough practice. It's rare cases, like it's about 5% of cases that you know, students who are fully prepared, something went wrong that they couldn't handle. You know, it's 95% of the time it's just the fact that students didn't practice enough, and it shows in their driving. So know that. All right, so when you show up for your driving test, first impressions matter, okay? We're not going to talk about makeup because Margaret's here, but I would suggest to you that you wear decent clothes, you know, not ripped jeans and those types of things. You know, comb your hair, wash your car, vacuum it out, take all of the fast food wrappers out of the footwells and those types of things. Because if if there's garbage in the car, the driving examiner, especially right now with the pandemic, is not going to get in your car. It's that simple. So first impressions, think about that. You know, I know that we are young and teenagers and those types of things, and you know, we want to express ourselves, and we all do want to express ourselves, but you know, sometimes, and this is one of those times where you kind of need to go along to get along. So you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So do the best you can to make the best impression you can. The other thing about it is if the car is clean, you vacuum it out, you're gonna feel better. It's like when you put on nice clothes, when you put on a nice dress and go to a dinner, or you put on a suit and you go to a dinner, you feel better and you feel more confident. This is exactly what putting on nice clothes, you know, shaving, combing your hair, and washing your vehicle is all about. So, and Margaret says, I'll wear makeup when you do. Well, when I get on stage and I perform with Eddie Izzard, I think that I'm going to have to wear makeup, Margaret. All right. So, myths about driving examiners. Some driving instructors will say to you, don't wear sunglasses. That's bunk. If you need sunglasses and it's a bright sunny day, wear sunglasses. I cannot drive without sunglasses in bright sun. So I need sunglasses. Don't engage in conversation. When I say don't engage in conversation, what I mean by that is, you know, get halfway, 2/3 of the way through your driver's test. If the driving examiner wants to have a conversation at that juncture, then yes, engage in conversation. Examiners work to fail you. No, that's not true at all. I would say that 90 to 95% of students who take some form of driver education will pass their driver's test on the first go. In many cases, as I said previously, students fail driver's tests because they simply didn't get enough practice, okay? Examiners have a quota of number of students that they have to fail per month, like police officers and speeding tickets. Again, not true. That's a myth. And I have to speak English perfectly. Again, that is not true in terms of going for your driver's test and sitting in a car with a driving examiner. There's very little English, you know, it's very basic English that you need to know. Right, left, go straight, controlled intersection, uncontrolled intersection, those types of things. But in order to read the driving manual, understand road rules and laws and those types of things, then yes, indeed, you need to know that information. The next thing, and this is important, and I put this on one of the kind of responses that anybody who tells us that they're going for a driving test, have a look at the pre-trip inspection video, and there's the link for it. Corey will put it in the comments there for you as well, and you can head over to the Smart Drive Test website and get the pre-trip inspection checklist. That's over there as well, and that will help you out because you don't want to be denied your driver's test because you had a brake light out, or you got a light out on the front, or it's raining and the windshield wipers don't work. So make sure that all of this, all the car is sound, especially if it's your car, even more so if it's a driving school car. When the examiner comes to get you, that you ask the driving instructor, did you do a pre-trip inspection on the car before we show up down at the DMV or the test center, wherever you're going, okay? You need to make sure that your car is good. All right, road signs. So driving examiners are looking for the fact that you're observing road signs and you're adjusting your driving in accordance with the information that's on road signs. You're failing to adjust your speed according to the signs because you're in a playground zone that has a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit or a 30-kilometer-an-hour speed limit. You're not merging when the lane ends. Stop signs. You're not coming to complete stops at stop signs, school zone signs, road markings, those types of things. So driving examiners are looking to see if your driving is being adjusted in keeping with road signs along the test route. Slow speed maneuvers, okay? And as it said at the bottom here, this should be at the top really. 20% of your practice for an 80% return. If you spend the time doing your slow speed maneuvers, your turning, your parking, maneuvering, doing your 3-point turns, your 2-point reverse turns, those types of things, and you can do all of this well, you are going to be a better driver overall on the roadways. So spend the time in the parking lot. In the second lesson with Gavin, you'll see that this is exactly what I did. I went and got some of those 3 foot, 1 meter tall pylons and went and worked with him in the parking lot. So that's exactly what I did. So practice your slow speed maneuvers. Tim says here, you got some police humor for us. No quotas anymore. Now I can write as many as I want to. Awesome. That's awesome. That's good police humor. Okay, lane positioning, move to the right after turning left. The examiner is not going to tell you to move over to the right lane. You have to do that automatically. Okay, when you turn on multi-lane roads, if you're turning right, you're going to turn into the right lane. If you're turning left, you're going to turn into the left lane. Anytime that you shoulder check, you shoulder check when you're turning or moving the vehicle laterally or doing lane changes, and you have to communicate well and communicate your intentions, and you have to have good observation while you're changing lanes, merging lanes and merging onto a freeway, highway, or interstate, your lane changes, and anytime that you're moving the vehicle laterally. So that's what that is. All right, and their job, driving examiner's job, is to assess your competency. They will score you with demerit points, and it depends a little bit which province or which state you are in, but for most passenger vehicles, it's somewhere between 40 and 55 points that you're allowed. So anytime that you do something wrong, for example, your lane positioning isn't good and you bump the center line, that's going to be 5 demerit points assigned to you. If your turn speed is too fast, or you finish off in the wrong place, again, that's going to be 5 or 10 points depending on the seriousness of what you do. So know that in terms of pass or fail. Very few students outright fail their driver's test due to an automatic fail maneuver, a dangerous maneuver and whatnot. Most of them demerit out. You get too many demerits while you're driving, and you simply get 45 demerit points, which is what you're allowed for the purposes of a driver's test, and then you fail, okay? And it might not even be that many. I might be thinking about tractor trailer license. But anyway, we can talk about that, and people who have taken their license, there's a lot of smart drivers here who will know exactly how many demerits you're allowed for the state or province in which you are taking your test. So good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. So we'll pop back over here and get going. Excellent. So my friend Ben is here as well, and Ben said he only got 6 wrong on his 3rd attempt and he passed. And Margaret says, New York, there is no feedback. You get a printout receipt at the end of the test and the examiner leaves the car. So Margaret, that's very unusual that they absolutely don't give you any feedback, because most driving examiners will give you at least some feedback. Okay, and Anitra, I think where I live, Houston, Texas, we need 70 plus to pass. Okay, so Anitra, that might be for the learner's permit, because the learner's permit is a little bit different Most places for the learner's permit, you need 80% to pass. So if you've got 20 questions, you have to get 18 out of the 20 questions correct in order to pass. All right, Goose, thank you so much. My friend Bill, I passed my driver's test on the 19th of February. The driving examiner, she was so nice to me. I'll tell you the secret she wanted me to pass. I did good on my parallel parking. Thanks for your videos. And Bill, you are most welcome. We're so happy to hear that you were able to pass out. And Tim says, honestly, I was never subject to a ticket quota. All that I had to do was satisfy my supervisor that I was doing my job. And, you know, Tim, I'm happy to hear that's exactly what it was, because, you know, it sounds like there are some places that maybe do have ticket quotas for police and those types of things. So maybe we can talk about that. I'll do a presentation here in a couple of weeks on getting pulled over and speeding tickets and those types of things, and we can talk about that as well. All right. Rocky, about the highway, I was just want to avoid traffic and not get in the way. Would I not fail if I pass even at the highway? Thanks. Okay, so Rocky, are you talking about passing other vehicles that aren't doing the speed limit on the highway? Is that what you're asking me? Okay. Okay, excellent. And Margaret had said something here. 30 demerit points. So 30 demerit points in New York. So I think I was thinking, when I said 45 demerit points, I was thinking of tractor trailer. And I think it's closer to what Margaret is saying about 30 demerit points for passenger vehicle. For most states and provinces, is going to be around that 30 demerit marks that you're allowed before you fail your driver's test. So 30 demerit points sounds more what it should be. Okay, RM, hi, I'm from India. Thank you for your lessons, and you are most welcome. Ben, I did get your message. The last week has been flat out busy for me, my friend. So I'll get to that. I do apologize. Okay, Saklim, I have a test on Saturday in Victoria. What would the examiner do instead with no school zone in effect on the weekends? Okay, so that's an excellent question. If you're taking your driver's test on the weekend, school zones do not apply. School zones only apply when school is in session. I have heard smart drivers come back and tell me that school zones apply all day, every day, but that's not true. Okay, I haven't found anything in any of the handbooks yet or anything that they are. I do have a few smart drivers that have told me that when summer school is in session, that they have to obey the school zone speed limits at that juncture, but they post temporary signs to indicate that summer school is in place. So just for now, go with the general rule. And if you're completely unsure, what I suggest to you is to invest in doing a mock driver's test with a local driving school, and they'll be able to give you that information. Or go into the driving school, give them $10 and say, can you tell me if school zones are in, school speed zones are in place at this time? But for the most part, just look in your handbook, and most of the time they're only in play when school is in session from 8 to 5 in the morning, okay? Or it will tell you on the sign itself. Anitra, it should have a posted speed limit for when school isn't going on. And Anitra, and Corey, I'll put this link up for you for the frequently asked questions over at the Smart Drive Test website. I've put the speed limit inside cities and inside on the highway or out in the country for different states and provinces. Now, for most provinces in Canada, it's 50 kilometers an hour inside the city unless otherwise posted, 80 kilometers an hour outside of the city unless otherwise posted. Now, in the States, it's either 25 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour. It's not consistent at all in the States. And out on the highways, it can be anywhere from 50 to 70 miles an hour. But what I suggest you do is go over to the Smart Drive Test website, go up to the menu, click on frequently asked questions, and then pick your state or province, and you'll be able to find that information about exactly what the posted speed limit is, or what the speed limit is if it's not posted in your state or province, okay? Tim, interesting. I would be happy to contribute to a unit on being stopped by police. Canadian version, excellent. That would be awesome, Tim. We could collab on that. That would be really great. I've got somebody in the States as well that I'm in contact with, and it's the hands-free kind of packet. She's developed this magnetized packet that goes down on the left side of the steering wheel, and it's basically so that you're not reaching around in the car and waving your hands around. It's basically you put your license in, you put your insurance on it. Now, the interesting part about this, Tim, and all the other smart drivers out there, that this is available. 10 years ago when I worked at ICBC, they were working on something so that your registration and your insurance wasn't in your car, because what was happening at the time, thieves were breaking into people's vehicles and they were figuring out when they weren't home. So for example, they were at work, they would break in their vehicle, they would pull out their registration and insurance, they would have their address and information, and then they would go and break into their houses while people were at work. The interesting thing that I like about this packet, and I'll have to look it up for you and I'll put it down in the description when I get it posted, is it's got your license, insurance, and registration, and you can just take it off and stick it in your pocket, and then when you come back, you just put it there, right? So this was the other thing that they were doing, because unfortunately there had been some incidents where people had been pulled over and treated poorly. So this is the purpose behind this. Rands, hey Rick, if you're driving on a left lane and you're behind a bus that's driving on the right lane, should you drive past the bus or stay behind it? What kind of bus is it? Is it a school bus or a transit bus? Okay. Goose, now I have some homework to do. School zones, good question. But Goose, you really don't have to do a lot of homework, because most places, like I said, I haven't found anything in any of the handbooks. Most places it's when school is in session, 8 to 5. So if it's a PD day, if it's a weekend, they don't apply. All right. And the other thing is you got to go around the schools in and around the test center where you go, because it can be kind of tricky. Like we have a high school down here, 2 blocks from where I live. There's no school zones around the high school. However, you go down to where my kids go to school on one of the main roads here in town, and so there's 4 roads around the school. Only 2 of the roads around the school have a school zone, whereas the other 2 roads don't. So you kind of got to know all of that, right? It's kind of crazy where the school zones are and where they aren't. Oh, okay. So Rands, it's in the Lower Mainland, but Citron, is it a school bus or is it a transit bus that you're talking about? Oh, transit bus. There it is. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, if it's a transit bus and they're driving in the right lane, yes, just get past them. Don't sit there beside them. And if they're pulled over letting off passengers, then yes, you can go by. Okay. Now, saying that, if you move into the other lane, and this was another thing that Gavin and I did today, was if it's a yellow line down the center and you have to move over into the other lane to get around an obstruction or a transit bus or whatnot on the right, and you move into the other lane, make sure that you mirror signal shoulder check into the other lane, and then you mirror signal shoulder check back into your lane for the purposes of your driver's test, because you got to do all that stuff. Okay. Tim, Google digest of motor laws for common traffic laws in North America. Okay. I lost the train of thought, Tim, about what we were talking about before. Okay, excellent. Okay, so Corey's saying that in the province of Manitoba and the city of Winnipeg, if memory serves correctly, I recall 10 minor errors and 0 major tolerances in the city of Winnipeg. So there you go. Jake, hey Jake, Rick, I wanted to thank you for videos I passed my advanced drivers in Alberta on Friday. Your videos are very helpful. I'll be passing your channel along to others. Thank you so much, Jake. That's awesome. Congratulations on passing your test on Friday, and thank you so much for stopping back and letting us know. And Ben is doing well, 3 months without a ticket or being pulled over yet. Excellent. That's great. Mahatma, is it okay to drive in the middle lane right after turning left at the intersection if it's a 3-lane busy road? Yes, and that's a good question. If it is 3 lanes on a multiple lane road, then you definitely want to drive in the middle lane. That is your best lane for both, traffic flow and defensive driving purposes. So yes, drive in the center lane for sure. Okay. Excellent. Jimbo, how are you? Jim Bob, there we go. Excellent. Rocky, I think passing other vehicles is what I'm talking about. Yes, I guess so. Yes. Yeah, Rocky, if you need to pass other vehicles, then you need to get out and get around them, right? If they're not doing the speed limit, then you're going to have to pass them. So, excellent. So, going back to driving examiners, and the other thing, if you're not successful on passing a driver's test, okay, it sucks. Let's just call it what it is. It's not fun. It's not fun when we don't succeed at a lot of things, right? in life. And failing a driver's test is just terrible because, you know, all your friends went and did their driver's test and they passed and those types of things. But the thing is it's not the end of the world, right? And, you know, this is the fun thing about working with Gavin is that Gavin didn't really take it too personally. But Gavin's a really nice guy. You know, and I think Gavin realized that he just hadn't had enough practice. So most of the time, driving examiners, they're not out to get you. I mean, you know, there are some crusty old driving examiners out there. There's no doubt about it. Unfortunately, you know, and I was talking to my friend in Calgary the other day about this as well, and he says, you know, we all have our driving examiners that we prefer our students to go with, and then we have driving examiners not so much because, you know, they're just tough, and you know, they have their little quirks, they have their little biases. But the thing is if you get enough practice in and you get the right training, you get the right counsel from a driving instructor, then they're going to be able to help you and get you to a level where you're going, no matter who you get with in the vehicle, you're going to be able to pass your driver's test. And that's what we need you to do. Okay. There we go. Okay. So Tim is saying that this legislation will have all of that information. Excellent. That's great. Thanks so much, Tim. Jimba, how far should you stay behind a fire truck? You should probably, Jim Bob, you should probably be 4 to 5 seconds behind a fire truck. But you got to realize that a fire truck, if responding to an emergency, is going to be traveling faster than you are. They're going to be well above the posted speed limit. And you got to come to a complete stop for the fire truck to get behind you. So you really shouldn't be that close, okay? Okay. Saklim, a fair amount of my friends had failed their driver's test the first time, some up to 3 times, so I was relieved to hear that I won't feel bad if I fail the first time. Saklim, you're still going to be kind of put out, right? Because we just want to go in and we want to be successful the first time. But, you know, do the work and you won't fail, right? Unfortunately, as I said, people who are unsuccessful in the driver's test, and, you know, not just me, but other driving examiners, Goose, my colleague in Calgary, other driving instructors, they will all tell you that unfortunately you're just not practicing enough. And I can't say it enough. Practice, practice, practice. You know, you got to practice, you know, and you need to get that practice in, because it's the same thing with Gavin. He hasn't practiced as much as he should have. And there's some things that we're doing and I'm thinking, wow, this is the first time you've done that. You know, so I cannot emphasize that enough. And I say this to students all the time when I'm telling them when they're starting to learn how to drive and those types of things. You know, get your license the day that you turn 16, the day that you're eligible to get your learner's license. Get your learner's license and take every opportunity to drive in the first, you know, however long you need to have your learners. There's some places in the States that you have to have your learners for 180 days. There's some here in Canada you have to have it for a year and those types of things. But I know that there are lots and lots of young drivers who get their learner's permit and they don't actually get behind the wheel of the vehicle until 6 to 8 weeks before their driver's test. And, you know, it shows. If you get in the vehicle with me and I go for a drive with you, I know that you've only been behind the wheel a few times. You know, you can't fool somebody. It's exactly like martial arts. It's exactly like jiu-jitsu. You know, my coach said that one day. He said, you can't hide on the mat. You know how much somebody's trained on the mat. And driving is the same thing. You can't hide. I know how much you've practiced when I get in the vehicle with you. I can tell by how you accelerate, how you turn the vehicle, how you respond to traffic situations and those types of things. So, you know, and driving examiners are going to be able to tell the same thing, because you have to realize this is what driving examiners do 8 hours a day. They're in the vehicle with 7, 8, 9, 10 different people every day, 5 days a week. So you can't hide. So practice, practice, practice. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, Viraj, your videos really helped me and are awesome. I received my license. Thank you so much. Viraj, that's awesome. Congratulations on passing your driver's test. We're so happy to hear that you passed and you came back and let us know. That's really great. Okay, and as Goose says, yeah, within the first few minutes we can tell whether somebody's practiced a lot or not. Okay, for sure. Excellent. Margaret, not everyone will pass their first road test, and not everyone who passes their test becomes a good driver. And never were truer words spoken, Margaret. That's very, very insightful. You know, that's very true. There's a lot of people who just never go on to be good drivers. They're always a little bit, you know, I was kind of happy to hear that my second mom, who's a really good dear friend of mine, she gave up her license because, you know, I basically, when we went to driving, I would just hold up my hand for the car keys because I didn't feel comfortable with her driving. So, and there's some people like that. Okay, Ciderin, what is the hardest part during the driver's test? The hardest part of the driving test is going to be the slow speed maneuvers, the parallel parking, 3-point turn, backing into a parking space, and those types of things. It just is, and it's only about 1/8 of the driver's test for most people, but it gives them the most grief. So practice your slow speed maneuvers, and as I said in the presentation, it's 20% in, it's 80% out, because slow speed maneuvers will improve your overall driving. It will improve your turns. It'll give you better control of the primary controls. So practice the slow speed maneuvers, the parallel parking, the packing into a parking space, and those types of things, and that'll just make you a better driver. Stefan, is 11 a.m. a good time for a driver's test? I would say that probably 11 a.m. is a good time for a driver's test. The other point about that Stefan makes is that the time that your driver's test, so if your driver's test is at 11 a.m., then go and practice in and around the test center during the week, or whenever you have a driver's test. If it's on a Saturday, then practice on Saturday, but practice at the time of day that you're going to be taking your driver's test, and that way you'll come up against the kind of traffic that you're going to encounter during your driver's test. If your driver's test is at 4 in the afternoon, go and practice at 4 in the afternoon, because you're probably going to get into congestion during your driver's test. Okay? Garama, good evening. Could you please help to advise if you have any videos on U-turns at busy intersections? Garama, where do you live in the world that you're doing U-turns at busy intersections? Because those generally aren't part of a driver's test. Amber, can you make a right on a red during a driving test? Amber, you can, for sure, but there's a lot of pieces that are in place for the right on a red light. And Corey will put the video up for you, but you also can wait for the green. If you're not comfortable going on the red for the purposes of your driver's test, you can wait for the green light. Okay. Rocky, well, about 9:30 p.m. I better be in bed by now and get ready for home school tomorrow. Excuse me, good night. Good night, Rocky. All the best, my friend. All right. Baguette, who does a back in at 90 degrees in real life? I mean, come on. If you're Baguette, if you're in a parking lot, you're going to have to turn 90 degrees. Most of the time, though, what I tell students is not to back in 90 degrees like this. What I tell students is to angle out on a 45, and that's going to make it easier for you. Corey will put up the video for you on reverse parking, and that will show you how to do that, and it's a lot easier for sure. Saklim, I got 3 driving lessons this week prior to my test, and doing another lesson an hour before the test starts on Saturday. So it sounds like you got it well in hand, Saklim. You're going to do well. Anitra, what's the best time to take a road test? I scheduled my test for 8:15 a.m. on Friday. Anitra, I think you're going to do well with that. And Baguette, the hardest part is backing in. Baguette, do you have a backup camera in your vehicle? And your road test, Baguette, is on Tuesday at 2 p.m. That's a good time. Jim Bob, you can turn right on a red only if you come to a complete stop first. Yes, and that's because it's a red light. There's a few other features, the few other pieces that you need in place, Jim Bob, for turning right on a red light. Corey's put the video up there so you can have a look at that. All right, Stefan, I have about a month until my test. Are the most important things I should look out for on the test. I am located in California. So, Stefan, in the state of California, you have to back up along a curb in a straight line for approximately 50 feet. So make sure that you practice that as well. And Corey will put up the video for you. I've recently reshot that, so that'll be a little bit easier for you. Okay. Caleb, I am in British Columbia, Canada, but almost all of the stuff here on the channel is directed towards those in the States. If you have any questions about where you live, drop me a line here. Either leave me a comment here or send me an email, rick@smartdrivetest.com, and I'll do what I can to help you out there. Okay? Is there a chance the test route will be a roundabout? There might be a roundabout on it if it's in and around the test center. And that's the other thing that you may have to be prepared for the purposes of your driver's test is roundabouts. And know that if there isn't any traffic in the roundabout, then you can proceed without. You just have to slow down and check and make sure that there isn't any traffic. And also know that you have to give way to the traffic in the roundabout. It's not a kind of one goes, the other next person goes, one goes, one goes. It's not, the zipper thing. It's you give way to all the traffic in the roundabout. Jim Bob, you know a lot about signals. That's good because you need to communicate effectively with other traffic on your driver's test. The 5 ways that we communicate with other traffic on your driver's test are lights and signals, your horn. Use your horn sparingly in this day and age because it's seen of a sign of aggression. Hand gestures, make sure you use all 5 fingers. Don't tell anybody that they're number 1 on a driver's test. Eye contact, if you've got a pedestrian or other vulnerable road user and you're not sure where they're going or what they're doing, make sure you get eye contact and figure out what they're doing. And then finally, the most important way that we communicate with other traffic on the roadway is the position of our vehicle on the roadway. So if there's a vehicle in the left turning lane, there's a good chance that that vehicle is going to turn left. At least we hope so. All right. Ben says that Minnesota has a closed course for most road tests, no roundabouts. All right. And a lot of you in the States there, North Carolina, South Carolina, Atlanta, or Georgia, the state of Georgia, some places in Florida are all going to have closed circuit tests. Pennsylvania has closed circuit tests. Those are the ones off the top of my head that I know. Other places will have shortened tests. California has a shortened test. Texas has a shortened test. Texas and Washington State both have third-party testing, so driving schools can do tests. The state of California and the state of Oregon both have backing up along a curb for approximately 50 feet as a requirement of your driver's test. In the state of Maryland, you have to do a 2-point reverse turn. Interesting that you have to do a 2-point reverse turn. And in the state of Kentucky, they call a 2-point reverse turn a 3-point turn, which I don't understand. But anyway, that's what they do. So if you're in the state of Kentucky, that's what you got to do there is a 2-point reverse turn. And Corey will put that video up for you on 2-point reverse turn. Okay, so know that different states have different requirements for your driver's test. And in the state of New York, again, it's a shortened driving test. And the larger metropolitans in the U.S., like Tampa, Florida, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, New York, Newark, Boston supplies the car for your driver's test. These are all going to be shortened tests with these large metropolitan areas, and the test is only like 6 to 8 minutes. It's not very long, so you don't get a lot of time to do stuff in these larger metropolitan areas where they're holding tests in the U.S. All right. Excellent. Yeah. Don't use the middle finger. Katie, should I let the examiner know about my hearing disability when taking the driving test? Katie, yes, you should. And that's an excellent point. If you have some sort of disability that's going to affect how you drive your car, you need to let the driving examiner know. And this is the other thing. I'm going to Calgary in a couple of weeks here, and I'm going to see my friend Nelson, and we are going over his vehicle with hand controls, and we're going to go out for a drive and show you how to do that in a hand-controlled vehicle. So for people who have disabilities, yes, let the examiner know. And more important, let your driving instructor know. I had a student went into 2 lessons, and I was quizzing him about air brake numbers, and he had all the numbers mixed up, and I said to the student, do you have a learning disability? And he says, oh, I have dyslexia. And I said, you didn't think to tell me? Because when you have a student with a disability, it's not wrong. It's just information that the instructor and the examiner need to know, because I am going to tailor my teaching to your disability so that we either go over information slower, we have a lot more repetition. I'm trying to drag in metaphors, analogies. I'm trying to connect it to something you already know, or something that you have already learned. So there's it's a lot. It's challenging for driving instructors and teachers to help somebody with a disability, but it's not impossible. There are lots of ways to do it, but you need to know, right? And yeah, as Goose says here, disabilities and language barriers. I mean, if English isn't their first language, then you need to keep the language in the vehicle very simple. And sometimes it's not even a language barrier that English isn't their first language. It's also the terminology, because Goose and I and Tim, we all know the terminology. We know what a painted island is. We know what a complex intersection is. We know what a simple intersection is. Controlled intersections, uncontrolled intersections, advanced greens, but you get new students and you start throwing out this terminology, this language, and they're like, their eyes kind of glass over, and you're like, oh, they're not getting this, right? So you have to change the language, or you have to give a little bit at a time and explain what you're talking about. You're saying, okay, turn left at the controlled intersection. A controlled intersection is either a stop sign, a yield sign, or a traffic light. All right, so you can't just throw all this at one time onto the student. So that's what you need to be doing when you're teaching as well. So going back to Katie about her hearing disability, yes, you need to tell the driving instructor, or the driving examiner rather, that you have this disability, and this is one of the reasons why you might be doing some things that you're doing in the vehicle. For another disability that I've worked with is people who have limitation in terms of mobility in their neck. They can't move their neck. So instead of, when they're doing shoulder checks, instead of doing shoulder checks like this, they're doing shoulder checks like this, where they're moving from the hips because they can't move their head. So that, again, is other types of information that the examiner needs to know, because the examiner needs to know why you're going like this as opposed to just turning your head. All right, so that's what you need to know. Brenton, I'm having a learning disability. Am I allowed to take one test at a time while I'm doing my class B test in Ohio, so I don't be not stressed out? Brenton, what you would need to do is you would need to talk to your doctor. You would need to get a letter, and that letter would need to be submitted to the DMV there in the state of Ohio. And you would need to talk to the authorities at the DMV if that was an option that you could do when you take your tests. So for example, you could take your CDL learner's permit, and then you could take a break, and then you could come back and do any endorsements that you wanted to do, your passenger vehicle, your tanker endorsements, your TDG, or whatever else that you might be doing. So yeah, that's what I would do. Get a letter from your doctor, and then go in and talk to the authorities at the DMV and see what they would have to say to you. Okay. Citron, is there any chance the examiner will ask you what a random sign is during the test? Citron, there is a possibility that the driving examiner might point out a traffic sign and might say, hey, what does that mean? Because you completely ignored it and didn't adjust your driving. And sometimes when the examiner asks you that, what a traffic sign means, they're not being I'm trying to think of a word that's not swearing. They're not being mean. They might just, you didn't adjust your driving according to the reduced speed sign. They might have said, hey, did you see that speed sign back there, right? So that might be all they're doing. And I've worked with driving examiners in the past who do that sort of thing. It's not that they're having a go at you. It's the fact that they're giving you a chance to fix that error so that they can move forward. That might be what they're doing as well. Jay, if I receive my learner's permit in one state, can I take my driver's test in another state? Jay, as a rule, you can't. You have to take your learner's and your driver's test in the state in which you live. Okay, so you couldn't take your driver's test. So say, for example, you lived in Ohio, you couldn't go to the state of Pennsylvania and take your driver's test because you don't live in Pennsylvania. You would have to take your driver's test in the state of Ohio because that's where you live. So you would need to take your learner's and your driver's test in the state of Ohio. I mean, unless you had some reason for being in Pennsylvania. You know, one parent lived in Ohio and one parent lived in Pennsylvania half an hour away. I mean, maybe if you had, you know, you were split parents or something like that and you lived in both houses, that might be a possibility. But I don't know. I think you would need to learner's and driver's test in the same place. Okay. Croporific. My test is in a couple of months. By the way, I live in Toronto. Excellent. Great. Shyla, if I do a hill park and there's a patch of ice on the road, should I drive onto the ice or beside it? I'm worried I won't hill park right with the snowbank. So if I'm in need of any tips. Okay, Shyla, don't freak out too much about the hill park, okay? Especially if there's a snowbank on the side of the road. Remember, it's a 3-in-1 rule. 3 times out of 4, you're going to get it right. So 3 times, you know, turn your steer tires into the shoulder of the road. The only time that you turn away is uphill with a curb, right? And then you let the tires roll back into the curb, and that's going to hold the car. Corey will put the video for you on hill parking, and that'll help you out as well. Tim, all the best. Have a great dinner, and we'll catch you next week, my friend. All the best. Okay? Jay, I go to university out of my home state. Okay, so you're in a different state for your university. Unfortunately, Jay, that's not going to work for you in terms of reasons why they would let you take a driver's test in a different state. They're going to make you go back home and take your driver's test in the state in which you live. Okay, so whatever identification you brought in, whether it was a passport, your U.S. citizenship, or whatnot for your state, you're going to have to go back home to your state to take your driver's test. So what I would suggest you is just book your driver's test when you're coming home, because are you coming up to March break here, or are you nearly done, like done in April sort of thing? Okay. Raman, I was asked about hazards while I was in the driving test. I said a few things, not sure what I should have done. This was in Vancouver. Any suggestions? Yeah, Raman. So what I'll do is get Corey to put up the video for you on running commentary. And this is not just for Raman. This is for everybody who's learning how to drive. Have a running commentary. That way, when what Raman said, if the driving examiner says to you, okay, list some hazards and obstructions along the roadway while you're driving, then you can have just your running commentary, because your running commentary is hazards and obstructions along the roadway. So I'm driving along the roadway, I'm following the vehicle in front of me at 3 seconds. I know that because they went past a fixed object and I counted, and when I went past the fixed object it was 3 seconds. There's an intersection here, I'm scanning the intersection, there's nobody running the red light, there's no pedestrians, there's no cyclists, motorcycle riders, other vulnerable road users, okay? So those are all hazards and obstructions on the roadway. Essentially what the driving examiner is asking you is, are you aware and taking note of the changing traffic conditions as you're driving? Because again, we go back to the definition of what the driving examiner's job is. The driving examiner's job is to determine if you have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. Because as traffic conditions change, you need to change your driving to be prepared for those hazards and obstructions along the roadway, fixed objects, other vehicles, other road users, right? Transit buses, those types of things. Good night, my friend Ben. So that's basically what hazards and obstructions is. It's not a trick question. It's just, what are you looking at when you're driving? Because those are the hazards and obstructions that you need to have in your mind, and you need to be adjusting your driving accordingly to those hazards and obstructions as you're driving along the roadway. We're going past them all. There's lots of pedestrian traffic. I'm watching pedestrian traffic, make sure nobody's coming out in front of me. I'm going past a playground. There's no kids running out in front of onto the roadway chasing a ball. There's a crosswalk here. There's no pedestrians at the crosswalk. Those are the hazards and obstructions that you're looking for. You're simply documenting what is happening in traffic as you're driving. That's hazards and obstructions. It's that simple. Okay. Jim Bob, is a fire station a hazard? Jim Bob, a fire station could potentially be a hazard. And remember that. There's lots of things on the roadway that potentially could be a hazard. A fire station, yes, could be a hazard. If they're responding to an emergency and they come winging out in front of you with, sirens going, sirens blaring and lights flashing, then yes, that's potentially a hazard on the roadway. But for most of the time, 80% of the time, they're not responding to an emergency, so therefore it's not a hazard to you. Saklim, I do a lot of running commentary while I drive. And Saklim, that's awesome. If you can do that, then you're fully prepared if the examiner says to you, just name some hazards and obstructions along the roadway while you're driving. Okay, Mang Mang, thank you for everything you do. I binge watched all your videos and passed my driver's test. Mang Mang, that is awesome. Congratulations. Thank you for stopping back and letting us know that you were successful in passing your driver's test. Awesome. Case, hi Rick, when I drive in school zones on road test in the summertime, should I do 30 kilometers an hour or not? Again, excellent Case. We talked about this earlier. School speed zones are only in effect when school is in session. So in the summertime, they're not in session, okay? So you're going to be doing 50 kilometers an hour. Epic, my friend. In some cases, they can actually purposely fail you on purpose. Happened to me once when I have to take my road test at when I was told to back up straight to the cone. Is there a possibility, Epic, that there was a misunderstanding there? Ari Ben, what do you do if you hit the curb? Can you fix it? Ari Ben, if you hit the curb, you push the wheel over the curb, or you knock the examiner out of his or her seat, unfortunately, that's an automatic fail. If you bump the curb, like you just touch the curb and but unfortunately, a lot of new drivers, especially as I was saying before, that you didn't get enough practice and you've only been behind the wheel of the vehicle for 6 to 8 weeks, you're not going to know that vehicle bumped the curb. Unfortunately, you're going to nail it. And if you nail it, you're not going to be successful on a driver's test, okay? So know that for the purposes of your driver's test. If you bang it, you knock the driving examiner out of his or her seat, or you push the wheel up over the curb, that's an automatic fail on your driver's test, okay? Baguette, do I have to fully apply the parking brake for the test or just push till it clicks? We get a lot of different weather in Minnesota, and if I push it all the way down, it would be stuck forever. Baguette, for the purposes of your driver's test and applying the parking brake, you're not going to be there for very long. You're just going through the motions, right? Because you're never going to get out of the vehicle. It takes a long time for parking brakes to freeze on, and you would need to be driving through wet weather for most of the day and then park the vehicle and have the temperature go down to sub-zero temperatures, to go down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Fahrenheit for the brakes to actually freeze on. I live in a winter climate here in British Columbia. I put my parking brake on all the time because I drive a manual transmission. I've never had my brake freeze. The only time I've had brakes freeze is on a commercial vehicle, and exactly what I just said happened. I drove through wet weather all day, dumped the trailer off the truck, went home for the weekend, came back, and it froze over the weekend, and I came back and the trailer brakes were frozen. That's the only time that I've experienced that, okay? I think that technology and materials have made this something that doesn't happen nearly as much. It does happen up north, you get crazy cold temperatures, but not down here in the south where we live. Margaret, I failed because there was a big gap in straight driving traffic when I was in the middle of the intersection to make a left, and I went to make the turn. The examiner jammed the brakes. Margaret, why did the examiner tell you why he or she jammed the brakes, or did they just jam the brakes and then took you back to the center and got out of the vehicle and buggered off? Because, man, I hate it when they do that. They don't give you any reason. I didn't want to get stuck in the intersection when the light changed, but he failed me for not giving right of way to every car that was coming down the street a half a block away. Okay. I can't comment on the whole lot because I wasn't there and I don't know the situation. All right, DC, hello, my friend. I passed my driver's test last year. While parallel parking, I asked the examiner to put their seat forward. Since I couldn't see out the rear window, he was a little surprised, though. Yeah, generally, driving examiners, I've had smart drivers ask me this regularly, is can they adjust their mirrors with their parallel parking and those types of things. Not something you want to do. Okay, driving examiners are going to be a little put out because they just want you to go and do it, right? They don't want you. They don't want to wait for you adjusting mirrors or getting them to move seats and those types of things. So it's not generally something you do for your driver's test. Okay. Airy Ben, what do you do if an emergency vehicle behind you and you are at an intersection? Airy Ben, the best thing to do if you're sitting at an intersection and an emergency vehicle approaches from the rear is to simply stay where you are, because the cars will stop on the right side of the road. The emergency vehicle will go out and around through the intersection, and then you just proceed after that. Okay. Jim Bob, when you pass a bar and you see cars in the parking lot, that's a hazard. Jim Bob, potentially, depending on what time of the day it is. Yes, if you're talking about a bar like a pub as a drinking establishment, yes, that's a possibility for sure. Citron, can you bring cheat sheet during the test, the steps of parallel parking, for example? Citron, no, you can't. Okay, Gerson, thanks for everything you do to help us to pass the driving test, Rick. I really appreciate it. I passed my test 2 months ago, and it was because of your videos. Thanks again. Gerson, you're most welcome, my friend. Thanks for dropping back and letting us know. That's awesome, and we're really happy to have you as part of the Smart Driver community. Brilliant. Garmia, during road test, if you get honked at and it's not your mistake, would examiner fail me? I'm wondering, yesterday I was changing lanes to the left to turn left. I slowed to 30 miles an hour on a 35 mile an hour road. Garama, no, they're not going to fail you for that. If other vehicles are honking at you on a driver's test because you're driving the speed limit, or you're waiting for a gap, no, they're not going to fail you for that. If you're doing the right thing and doing what you need to do, just know that it's inevitable that other drivers are going to be impatient. Other drivers are going to honk at you. That's just crazy stuff that happens all the time. Jim Bob, I'm going now. Good night, my friend. All the best, and stay well. All the best. All right, so if you have any questions at all about passing your driver's test, what the purpose of the driving examiner is, what are automatic fails, some of the automatic fails on a driver's test, blocking an intersection. If you drive into an intersection that you can't clear, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. If you go through a yellow light and the driving examiner looks up through the top of the glass in the windshield and sees the light go red when you're going through the intersection, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. If you strike a fixed object, so you back into the parking space in the parking lot and you hit the concrete barrier at the back, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. If the driving examiner intervenes for whatever reason, and this happened to Margaret, unfortunately, there's no recourse for that. If they intervene for whatever reason that they deem that they need to intervene, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. If another driver or road user on the roadway has to take an evasive action to avoid you hitting them, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. So those are some of the automatic fails off the top of my head. You know, if you execute a dangerous action, again, you're going to fail on a driver's test and not be successful. So those are some of the automatic fails that you can keep in mind. But again, practice, 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 practice. I cannot stress that enough, because as Goose said, and any other driving examiner, any other driving instructor will tell you, if I get in the vehicle with you, I can tell how much you've been driving, because you can't hide in the car. It's like jiu-jitsu. You get on the mat, you cannot hide. People know how much training you've had by how you move, you know, what you're capable of and your abilities and skills. Same thing with driving. Baguette, what constitute a move when parking? How many moves do you get when doing a parallel park or a back in? Okay, so Baguette, when you're doing slow speed maneuvers and you're doing a maneuver, you get one pull-up. After the one pull-up, then they start assigning demerits, okay? So you get one pull-up. Zeke, I passed my driver's test and exam first try because of your videos. That's awesome. Congratulations. And thank you for coming back and letting us know. That's really great. Epic, speaking of left turns on a controlled intersection, when you're doing the road test, is it safe to advance into the middle of the intersection and make the left turn, possibly have the risk rear-ended? Epic, I always say that you wait with front steer tires on the front crosswalk line. When the gap presents itself on the other side, then you move forward and you start to get a bit of speed up. The reason for that is now you've got a bit of speed to make your left-hand turn, and you're going to reduce the amount of time that you're turning and are in the hairs of the oncoming cross traffic. So that's why I recommend that you do it that way. And again, have a look at the video on left turns, and that'll really help you out. Corey, I'll put that up for you. Shyla, can I go right at a red light after the way is clear, or is that not allowed on a test? No, Shyla, you can. And scroll up through the comments here. Corey put the video up for you on turning right on a red light, and that'll give you more information about that. All right, so we're going to leave it there for tonight. Thank you very much for showing up. Thanks very much for participating. It's been absolutely awesome as usual. Lots of people passing their driver's test. And congratulations. Thanks for being part of the Smart Driver community. And people have driver's tests coming up this week. Good luck on those. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.